According to a new Morning Consult political poll, 63% of all voters say that lawmakers should be banned from stock trading. This comes amid growing scrutiny of trading activity among public officials.
The poll also found a majority of Democratic and Republican voters back a ban at 69% and 58%, respectively. Independent voters are also in favor of a ban on stock trades for members of Congress, splitting the difference at 64%. Joining us to discuss are Democratic strategist Alencia Johnson and advisor at the Renew Democracy Initiative, Rena Shah. Welcome to you both.
Good morning.
Morning.
So, Rena, this one kind of feels like a no-brainer. Why, Republicans support it too. I'm a libertarian. I think it's not, Nancy Pelosi said this is anti-free market or something. I'm like, no, it is not anti-free market. I'm wholly pro-free market. But this is the government, the people setting the rules for how these companies operate. It is totally fine to prohibit them from taking part in it. What do you think?
I think this is absolutely everything you just said it was. I mean, this is one of those moments where you're scratching your head thinking, why isn't there greater support across the aisle? But perhaps this is what that poll shows. I mean, the numbers are sort of indicating that this does demand the fact that, we take a serious look at our lawmakers, the people who are privy to information that the public doesn't often get. I don't have a short-term memory here because I remember 2020 quite well when Senator Kelly Loeffler was still in office, the senator from Georgia, and Purdue, as well as Senator Burr from North Carolina. These people were being investigated for being tipped off and acting on tips that they got back in January after they had attended a members-only coronavirus briefing. These are the kinds of moments that teach you and tell you that lawmakers in this era, unfortunately, seem to be above the law. Yeah. And that is a shame for our democracy on the whole, because investigations went nowhere. And, Burr and others, Purdue's looking to even come back, right? So,
but I thought what was interesting. I thought what was interesting about that is conservative media was really hard on them for those. They got torn apart on Fox, which shows that there's an appetite for this kind of thing. That's how they got treated by the right, deservedly treated badly.
Public service should enrich no one. That's just the bottom line. I mean, these people go to Congress to represent the people. They're elected as just normal lay people. Some people, I've worked for people that were lawyers or car salesmen, or some of them just entrepreneurs like me, different people who go to Congress to serve. But the information they're getting there shouldn't be seen as a golden ticket to a richer life after. But look at how much these people, look at their net worth. Nancy Pelosi, my gosh, it's somewhere in the millions. So not only am I somebody that has really been talking about term limits for a long time, because I think people can't be effective after a certain point, whatever that certain point is, obviously deserves some public debate. But let's be honest about what this really is. This is about tipping off a certain subset of Americans to get them richer and ahead of the curve. Yeah. And they should not be our sitting elected representatives. That's it.
Alencia, is there some concern here that the right might take the lead on this issue? We were just saying that conservatives have gotten backlash for insider trading, but when this issue with Nancy Pelosi came up recently, there were some people who were defending her on the internet, and I don't see the same kind of pushback against these kind of economic populist issues on some of the mainstream corporate left shows as I do among some of this faux populism that happens on the right.
It is interesting, I would say, as someone who is a Democrat, someone who has worked in progressive politics, that we are not pushing on this issue as much as people are on the right, because it is a very clear indicator of conflict of interest. We always talk like when we can't get a big bill passed, right? When we talk about how Senator Joe Manchin doesn't want climate change, we immediately point to his interests with, coal miners or whatever it may be, right? And so if we are able to talk about those kind of interests, why can't we talk about stock trading? Why can't we talk about these financial interests that, to the point that Rena was making, it's a clear indicator on where people's interests are. It's a clear indicator on the fact that they have inside knowledge. And how can you be unbiased in regulating these businesses if you have inside knowledge that you could actually profit from these businesses? And so it is interesting that this hasn't become such a groundswell issue for the left, because it is something that is directly correlated to the wealth gap that we always talk about, the income equality that we are talking about, how, the economy and capitalism isn't working for certain folks. And so I also believe that there should be a conversation about where is all of the money coming from that makes a lot of our members of Congress very wealthy and able to, take that sacrifice of working in public service because they have a wealth that they can live off of. And I firmly believe that, much like Rena, and I think we can all agree on this panel, that if you are in public service, there does come some kind of sacrifice, but you are here for the American people. And the majority of American people do not have millions of dollars of net worth. And so how are you able to connect with them on the day-to-day issues, the kitchen table issues, if you are not understanding their day-to-day plight?
No doubt. Well, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has seemingly reversed her stance on lawmakers trading stocks, saying, quote, to give a blanket attitude of we can't do this and we can't do that because we can't be trusted. I just don't buy into that. But if members want to do that, I'm okay with that. She's really going to bat for the concept of being able to engage in stock trading, which is hilarious. She is a lawmaker, so maybe she has faith in lawmakers. Nobody else trusts these people. But I think it goes to what you were saying, Bree. Rena, this creates such an opening for Republicans to run on this. If Nancy Pelosi wants to be the ideological defender of allowing Congress people to make millions of dollars, I say, it's a great gift.
Yeah,
what a gift to the right.
Yeah, it really is a gift to the right. I mean, to think that somebody with her, somebody who has enjoyed the reputation she has for years, of course, on the left, the right loves to bash her. But as a woman, I can tell you, I see her as a very strong, practical woman. And with these comments, it's very clear to me just what many of us can discover with a few keystrokes on a keyboard and find out what her husband's been up to for many years, how much they've profited from Nancy being in public office and having knowledge that she gets. So look, I think that the quickest thing here to say is let's draw a line here to public trust, because we can do that very easily. In general, the American people do not trust the regulators to regulate themselves. Why should we? Human nature will tell you that they will break the rules when they can. There was a Stock Act in 2012 that has banned all lawmakers from using any non-public information to trade personal stocks. And of course, I mentioned Senator Burr earlier. He was one of only 3 people to vote against it. But these laws that they passed, they know they can skirt around certain things. They know that they can get away with, they were exonerated. Like I said, these 3 senators in 2020 that there was all this hubbub about, they were exonerated in an investigation by the DOJ. They know they can work around the rules. Why are we not being tougher on them as the public in general, holding them to a higher regard? So I think this is definitely an issue that I hope more young people, actually more millennials, will be vocal about, because again, there can be a generational divide here. We can say that we want to see more people in office do good for all of us, and we can start by really holding them to greater account and to get them not to police themselves, but for us to police them from the outside with greater regulation.
Yeah, Rena, to your point about the younger generation, I'm old enough to remember that a lot of folks who liked Bernie, especially back in 2016, liked that he had that message, that he was calling out establishment Democrats. And what happened when he did that? A bunch of kind of yes queen, old school feminists in the Democratic Party said it's sexist for you to be pointing out Hillary Clinton's ties to Wall Street. And I feel like Nancy Pelosi, the energy that she's bringing to this pushback about this is like 2 seconds away from her saying, like, it is her right as a woman to get hers. I mean,
girl
we saw
boss,
something.
girl boss stuff.
Exactly.
Girl
We saw
boss
this
stuff.
with Barack Obama too, by the way. We saw people criticizing him for taking, all these big book deals and stuff. And there was this pushback that said, "Oh no, let the black man get his coin." And at a certain point, it seems like people have to start to be honest about the influence of money in politics. I'm skeptical that it's going to happen with Joe Biden, given that, again, he was the candidate in the race that took more corporate money than anybody else in the race. And when people pointed this out, Joe Biden said, "Oh gosh, that's not how corruption works. Like, sure, I might take your phone call first, but me couldn't be me. I'm Honest Abe." Alencia, when are Democrats going to wake up and start arguing that, realizing that this populist, anti-corruption message is a real winner, and we cannot let the faux populists on the right run away with this one?
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like, you and I worked on the more progressive candidate with the more progressive 2020. And actually, one of the policies that we were working on was taking out the corruption that is currently in Congress and in the administration, all these loopholes that politicians and elected and appointed officials have. And listen, I am about people getting their money, especially if you're Black, if you're a woman, if you're marginalized, get your money. after your public service or when you decide to not be in public service. But the other piece that I want to talk about that we haven't brought up here, we're talking about the money in politics. We're talking about young people, marginalized folks. We have to think about the correlation to this net worth being built in the stock market, giving certain people, mostly white, wealthy people, the ability to run huge campaigns, which continues to provide a barrier for young people, for people of color, for marginalized folks to actually have a chance to serve in Congress. If you're going up against a millionaire, but you have the better interest for the population at heart, how are you going to campaign when they've got millions and you've only got grassroots dollars, right? So this is beyond just, regulating businesses. This is also who gets to have power in Congress, who gets to actually represent people. And I think when we're having this conversation, we should bring that into the fold too. And on the piece about Leader Pelosi, she and I sometimes disagree, but I do appreciate that she says, listen, I kind of disagree with this, but if this is what the majority wants, I'm going to support it. And I wish more of our elected officials in certain parties would say, you know what, I might not disagree with this, but if we have to get to a win, we have to get to a win. And so, Leader Pelosi, I appreciate that you're doing it on you're saying that right now. Hopefully that's a model for some of these other issues that we haven't talked about today, but some of these other issues that are being held up in Congress.
She couldn't handle that Twitter heat is what that was. And I think that she's probably fairly confident that nothing's going to come of this. I mean, I think it's easy for politicians to say, of course, we should do something about this problem, knowing that the public interest is so fickle.
They will never operate. Yeah, they will never do anything about this one. Well, Alencia and Rena, we really appreciate you being with us.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Thank you.
More Rising after this.